The lamps glowed gently in Sindbad's grand hall, their flames dancing in crystal cups as the night breeze whispered through the garden. The porter sat cross-legged, eyes bright with curiosity. Sindbad the Sailor smiled, refilled his guest's cup, and said, "My friend, you have heard 5 of my voyages, and each time I swore never again to tempt the sea. Yet man is a creature of desire and forgetfulness. The scent of the docks, the creak of ropes, and the call of sailors were enough to stir my heart once more. So I gathered fine goods and set out upon my 6th voyage, the most perilous of all. I embarked from Basra on a large ship filled with merchants from many lands, Persians, Indians, Arabs, and Greeks. The winds were kind, and we passed from port to port, trading in silk, ivory, camphor, and ambergris. The sea was clear as glass, and for months fortune smiled upon us. Yet the sea is deceitful. She lulls a sailor with calm before showing her true face. One evening, the captain ascended the mast to scan the horizon. When he descended, his face was pale as bone. "O brothers," he said, "our fate is sealed. Before us lies a mountain that rises sheer from the sea, and the current will not release us. Many ships have perished upon its rocks. We trimmed the sails and rowed with all our strength, but the tide drew us closer and closer. The keel struck stone, the mast cracked, and the ship broke apart like glass under a hammer. In an instant, the sea claimed it. The waves cast me upon the sand like a broken reed. For a long while I lay senseless, hearing only the hiss of the tide and the groan of timbers far off. When I rose at last, I saw the truth of that dreadful coast. Masts jutting from the shallows, torn sails fluttering like shrouds, and the bones of men whitening under the sun. It was a graveyard of ships. As I searched among the wrecks, I found several of my shipmates clinging to the rocks, alive but weakened. Together we gathered what the sea had spared: barrels of grain, jars of water, dried fruit, and dates washed ashore from our own vessel. The valley in which we found ourselves was strange and terrible. Its cliffs rose high on every side, hemming us in like prisoners. Scattered among the wrecks and skeletons were heaps of jewels, rubies, sapphires, and diamonds glimmering in the sand like stars fallen from the sky. We gazed upon them with awe but no joy. For what use is gold to the dying? We built a shelter near a trickling stream, rationed our food, and prayed for rescue that never came. Days became weeks. The grain was gone, the water low, and despair crept into every heart. Then, one morning, as I wandered near the foot of the cliffs, I found a narrow river flowing between the rocks, its water black and swift, disappearing into a cavern beneath the mountain. I called the others and said, "Brothers, this river may lead beyond the valley. If it runs beneath the mountain, perhaps it flows into lands where men still live. Let us build a raft and trust our fate to God's mercy rather than to slow death here." Some among them wept and said, "Sindbad, we have accepted our fate. If it is God's will that we perish here, then let us die upon the earth and not beneath it." I pleaded with them, but their hearts were set. That night, they dug their own graves with trembling hands, saying prayers as the sun went down. They lay within them and pulled the sand over their bodies, choosing the stillness of death over the uncertainty of hope. My heart broke for them, but I could not share their choice. I said to myself, if I am to die, let it be while seeking deliverance. Before I began, I walked once more among the wrecks and gathered a few jewels. Not from greed, but in remembrance of my fallen companions, and that should I survive, they might bear witness to what had passed in this valley of death. Then I took planks and ropes from the shattered ships and built a raft, fastening empty barrels beneath it for buoyancy. I loaded what fruit and water I could salvage, invoked the name of God, and set myself upon the river. The current drew me swiftly toward the cavern's mouth. I entered beneath the mountain, and the light of day faded behind me. The tunnel was vast and endless, the ceiling lost in darkness. I could no longer tell night from day, only the sound of rushing water and the hollow echoes of unseen spaces. At times my raft struck against floating timbers or bones, relics of those who had tried before me. I prayed constantly, surrendering my soul to God's mercy. Days passed, or perhaps weeks, until at last a faint brightness shone ahead. The current quickened, and I was carried out once more into open light, the river widening beneath a clear and merciful sky. The river carried me gently between two hills until I came to a wide valley lush with grass and trees. Birds sang overhead, and sunlight fell upon the water like gold. I fell to my knees and gave thanks to God who guides the lost from darkness into light. Before long, men appeared on the shore, fishermen and traders. They cried out in astonishment, for they had never seen anyone come down that river alive. Their speech was strange to my ears, full of tones and rhythms I had never heard. Only one among them understood a little Arabic, and through him my story slowly took shape like light through mist. He said, "Come with us. Our king will rejoice to hear your tale." They took me before their king, a ruler noble and wise, seated upon a throne of ivory and gold. I kissed the ground before him, and he bade me rise. Through interpreters, I told him my story, from the shipwreck to the darkness of the river. He marveled and said, "We have long wondered from where this river comes, for it brings us timbers, jewels, and the bones of men. Today its secret is revealed." He commanded that I be treated with honor and lodged in a fine house. Servants brought me clothing and rich food, and for many days I rested, regaining the strength that hardship had stolen. When I had recovered, the king summoned me again and said, "Sindbad, the Most High has preserved you for a reason. Stay among us as my guest. You shall find prosperity and peace here." I thanked him and stayed in his city, trading with the merchants and learning their customs. The land was rich in gold, ivory, and sandalwood. I opened my packs and found among them fine silks and jewels that had drifted with me from the wrecks. I sold these for a high price and shared my earnings with the poor. When the king learned of this, his favor toward me increased. He said, "Sindbad, I will make you one of my trusted men. But if your heart yearns for home, I shall not hinder you." I bowed and replied, "O king, I am grateful beyond words, yet my heart is bound to Baghdad, to my family, and to our commander of the faithful, Harun al-Rashid." The king smiled and said, "Then you shall return bearing my greetings." He commanded his scribes to write a letter to the Caliph, sealed with his own signet. The letter praised the wisdom of Harun al-Rashid and spoke of the marvels God had wrought through the sea. He also gave me noble gifts: a jeweled cup carved from a single ruby, a carpet woven with gold, and a rare pearl the size of a dove's egg. When the season of sailing returned, The king loaded the gifts upon a merchant ship bound for Basra and appointed guards to ensure my safety. We sailed with favoring winds, passing many ports and islands. The sea was merciful this time, calm as a sleeping child. In due course we reached Basra, and from there I journeyed up the Tigris to Baghdad. I went at once to the Caliph's palace and presented the letter and gifts. The Caliph received me with honor, marveling at the treasures. He read the letter aloud, his voice echoing through the marble hall, and said, "Praise be to God, who joins distant kings in friendship. Sindbad, your courage and your faith have made you a bridge between realms." Then he commanded that I be rewarded tenfold, and he dismissed me with his blessing. I returned home, my wealth restored, my body healed, yet my heart uneasy. For every time I escaped death, I left part of my soul behind upon the sea. That night, as I sat beneath my lamps, I thought of all I had seen: the mountain of wrecks, the endless tunnel of darkness, the silent river that flowed beneath the earth. I realized that man's life is like that current, sometimes hidden, sometimes bright, always flowing toward a destination known only to God. So I vowed again to live in peace, to give to the poor, and to remember my Maker. Yet I confess to you, my friend, when I hear the sound of oars upon the river, something in me still stirs. Sindbad fell silent. The porter bowed his head and said, "Master, your heart is steadfast, though the sea has broken many men. Truly, patience and gratitude are greater treasures than gold." Sindbad smiled. "Come again tomorrow, my friend," he said, "for I will tell you of my seventh and final voyage, the end of my travels, and the day when I learned that a sailor's true rest lies not in riches, but in peace." And so ended the sixth voyage of Sindbad the Sailor, a tale of shipwreck and salvation, of darkness, faith, and deliverance. Subscribe for more timeless stories from around the world. New adventures every week.